Lev Vygotsky was a Russian psychologist who lived from 1896 to 1934. His work gained widespread recognition in Western society during the 1970s, and his ideas subsequently had an enormous impact on the fields of both education and psychology. Vygotsky's work is primarily concerned with children's cognitive development. According to Vygotsky, learning precedes development. This is due in part to the fact that a person's cognitive development is dependent on the sign systems with which they are raised. Sign systems are essentially symbols that allow for communication. Language, systems of writing, and counting systems are all examples of sign systems, and these provide a framework for thinking, learning, and development. Vygotsky also set forth the idea that cognitive development must be examined within the cultural and historical context that a person experiences. This is called cultural historical psychology. Vygotsky's ideas most closely related to the field of education include the zone of proximal development, scaffolding, mediation, and cooperative learning. According to Vygotsky, learning occurs most effectively when tasks, ideas, and knowledge are within a child's zone of proximal development. The zone of proximal development is the level immediately above a person's current abilities. Tasks that are within this zone are ones that a child cannot do alone, but are probably able to do with some assistance, either from an adult or from a higher achieving peer. The zone of proximal development has had a significant impact on the instructional approaches and specific teaching methods utilized by educators today. Methods like questioning, modeling, feedback, and cognitive structuring are all direct applications of the zone of proximal development. In addition, teachers typically plan their instruction to take place within the student's zone of proximal development. They avoid skills and concepts that are either too difficult or too easy for their students. Scaffolding refers to the supports that help students bridge the gap between their current knowledge and performance and their educational objectives. These supports are typically greatest during the early stages of learning, and then students gradually assume increasing amounts of independence and responsibility for their learning as the scaffolds are removed. Scaffolding has many implications for educators. In any classroom, students will likely need greater amounts of support when a new topic or skill is introduced. Scaffolded instruction is particularly important for special populations, such as English language learners and students with learning disabilities, autism, and other exceptionalities. Vygotsky also introduced the concept of mediation, which is a process through which children learn complex skills. During mediation, adults or higher achieving peers explain and model skills, concepts, and self-talk. Through this process, children are then able to implement those skills themselves. This is closely related to the concept of cooperative learning, which stems from a core tenet of Vygotsky's work. Vygotsky claimed that learning is a social process. Through cooperative learning, particularly in mixed ability groups, students see skills and concepts modeled by peers, who are typically working within the student's zone of proximal development. Cooperative learning can be seen in many classrooms today in many different situations. Teachers might create mixed ability groups during math or reading rotations so that students can demonstrate thought processes, reading strategies, and mathematical skills. Alternatively, students in older grade levels might partner with students in kindergarten or first grade for buddy reading, which provides an opportunity for these young learners to see reading modeled by older students. One final and important implication of Vygotsky's work is the existence of constructivism. Constructivism is a major educational theory, and it is based primarily on the work of Vygotsky and his contemporary Piaget. Vygotsky's work has not been met without criticism. Some critics claim that the zone of proximal development is an unclear and ill-defined concept. They claim that there's no way to know how broad or how narrow the zone of proximal development is, and that often ideas are not as sequential as would be required by this idea. Others claim that there is a dichotomy between an individual's constructed knowledge and the idea of social learning. However, the ideas described by Lev Vygotsky during the 20th century are alive and well in today's educational environments. His work has clearly had a lasting impact on the field of education.